Rebel Clash was the second set released as part of the Sword and Shield era, and most consider it to be the worst. Definitely if you're a collector, as there's no chase cards to speak of in this set. However, from a gameplay perspective, some of the best cards in here might surprise you. I'm Jet from inthirdperson.com. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and before we look back at the Rebel Clash set, I just wanted to quickly promote my Extra Life 24-hour marathon. We are raising money in support of the Children's Miracle Network of Hospitals. The show will start on November 5th over on my Twitch channel, link on the screen here. And if you'd like to make a donation, again, 100% of the proceeds go towards the Children's Miracle Network of Hospitals. You can use the link on the screen or the link in the description of this video below. And if you make a donation at one of the 3 reward tiers, you can get some fun stuff, including prints of my spray paint art, as well as a signed Pokemon card from me. All right, let's get into this retrospective on Rebel Clash. The best Pokemon to come out of Rebel Clash was Dragapult V Max. And the big noteworthy thing about it was the move Max Phantom, which for 2 Psychic Energy did 130 damage, plus you got to drop 5 damage counters on your opponent's bench in any way you like. And those 5 damage counters can mean a lot. It can mean an extra prize, taking out a smaller Pokemon. It could be incremental damage to a VMAX on the bench in order to get a easy KO later in the game. And Dragapult actually wasn't a big hit out of the gate. It didn't really take off until a year later in the Evolving Skies era as a counter to Rapid Strike Urshifu, where Dragapult then became the most used deck in tournament play. And I still have a soft spot in my heart for this card. I love playing this deck, the Dragapult Inteleon one in particular, and I'd love to see it come back someday. Maybe there's an opportunity for it to come back as a way of sniping Comphase in the Lost Origin meta, but who knows? Galarian Weezing is a staple that's never really gone away. Its neutralizing gas ability is just so good for shutting down opposing decks, and it feels like it's only gotten better over time as Pokemon just keeps adding more Pokemon with abilities, and this just really neutralizes the game in a big way. Now, the damage from the poison isn't great. It is a little better now with Radiant Sneasler in the format, but if they can find ways to get out of your poison traps or the ability traps, you're kind of screwed. So this has never been like a top tier card or anything like that, but certainly playable throughout its lifespan. A interesting support card that by the time I started playing the game had already kind of faded away. This is Eldegoss V, and when you put it on your bench, you could grab a supporter card from your discard pile and put it back into your hand. So an easy way to grab a specific supporter card, though it did serve as a two prize liability, which made it not as popular. That being said, there was a tournament in the 2022 season, I believe, where Eldegoss was in a Duraludon deck and it won. And despite a lot of pro players not liking the move of putting Eldegoss in the deck, they still won the tournament. So, congrats to Eldegoss for that dub. We've also got Malamar V Max with the move Max Jammer for 2 darkness and 1 colorless energy, does 180 damage, and your opponent reveals their hand, and you can choose a card you find there and put it at the bottom of their deck. This one didn't really get any play until Arceus showed up, at which point it became a really interesting card where you could hit for Mew V Max for weakness, you could do decent damage on non-psychic decks and still slow them down by taking a card out of their hand. And also, this dark type Pokemon has grass as a weakness, which was very important because fighting types were popular at the time, which Gengar is weak to fighting, which didn't make it an ideal pick at the time, but Malamar was a much stronger choice because it had grass weakness instead. Getting that 3 energy was always a challenge, but Arceus did help that out, and Malamar did get its day in the sun in the last year or so of play. Boltund V. This one is a personal favorite of mine in my electric decks, but there were a bunch of decks early on that would use this for its Electrify move, where for 1 lightning energy, you could attach 2 lightning energy cards to your bench Pokemon in any way you like. Little bit of energy acceleration here. Its attack was not bad for the time either, though we wouldn't get Bolton VMAX until much later, and Bolton VMAX's, it's just okay. Inteleon VMAX, I think this was better at the time. Like at this point, this card is kind of unplayable at this point, but its move max bullet 160 plus 60 to the bench was not bad, though it was 2 water and a colorless, and this was during a time before Melanie arrived, so getting that energy on there was a bit tough. That being said, we did have Frostmoth, and we did get another item card that did help making accelerating Inteleon VMAX a little easier. So this was not bad. It was also it had its own League Battle deck, and this was the first League Battle deck I ever bought, and it was a great stepping stone for me to get into the game. This Dragapult is really annoying. Its Infiltrator ability gives it a chance to survive any KOs it might get with the, you flip a coin, and if heads, you get to prevent that damage, which was kind of crazy. And it is very much a gamble. Of course, you flip tails and you're probably out, but it was kind of fun for the time, and does make it one of the better cards in the V battle decks. The Gardevoir deck has this one, and it's one of the most annoying cards to fight against. Galarian Meowth is an interesting one. People don't use the Evolution Roar ability for its intended purpose of getting the Berserker. However, we did use it a lot to discard V-Union Pokemon and to get them on the field, and Galarian Meowth ended up being in the Sander Wojcik Mewtwo V-Union deck that got top 4 at one of the major championships. So kudos to Galarian Meowth for overachieving on that front. I will say that in terms of trainers, things get a lot more interesting here. Boss's Orders, absolutely massive card. It was one that allows you to gust a Pokemon from the bench to the active. At the time of its release, this card, I believe, was not in rotation at the time. We did have Guzma, which is like Cross Switcher, but a supporter card. And this ability has appeared in the past, or this support has been here in the past. It was previously called Gust of Wind. I know it was also called Lysander at one point. But Boss's Orders, just allowing you to switch your opponent's Pokemon into the active, such a crazy powerful ability that it has become a staple of pretty much every deck in the game. Absolutely stunning card, and it recently got its tournament marker updated, so we will be seeing Boss's Orders for the foreseeable future. Another massive card to come out of Rebel Clash, Capacious Bucket, which allows you to get 2 basic energies instead of 1. And pretty much every water deck runs multiple copies of this card so that you can get your water energy quickly. And at the time, this was handy with Frostmoth, but there are so many water decks that benefit from having Capacious Bucket that it became a staple in so many decks. And speaking of staples, holy cow, Scoop Up Net. Put one of your Pokemon that isn't a Pokemon V or Pokemon GX into your hand. This was great for nullifying damage on single prize Pokemon. This was great for reusing certain Pokemon like Galarian Zigzagoon. And I think what we're most familiar with, this is amazing for resetting Shady Dealings so that you can grab more trainer cards from your deck. Now, it's worded very interestingly because it says Pokemon V or Pokemon GX, but we have the new Pokemon EX coming out, and Scoop Up Net would technically work on the EX cards as well. Imagine you can just scoop up a 330 HP Magnezone. So I think because of that, I would not be surprised if Scoop Up Net gets banned in the next rotation. Scoop Up Net will be missed. I'm gonna guess that there will, again, putting my tinfoil hat on, I think Scoop Up Net gets banned and it gets replaced with some other kind of net that is worded a little differently. Tool Scrapper has been a solid card in the format, allowing players to take 2 tools off of Pokemon, whether it's yours or your opponent's. Very handy for getting stuff like Big Charms and Capes off and Choice Belts and all that. And this will probably continue to be used here and there, even though at this point Lost Vacuum might be a little more popular, but being able to take out 2 tools at once is very handy. one of the essential stadiums of the Sword and Shield era, Training Court, just being able to fish out a basic energy from your discard pile is such a huge asset to have that even decks that don't really benefit from stadiums will have Training Court just to grab energy, because being able to recover your energy is incredibly handy. Turffield Stadium, if you are playing a grass deck, being able to have quick access to a evolution Pokemon is very useful. Galar Mine. This adds 2 to your opponent, to everybody's retreat cost, and this was an essential card in Leafeon VMAX for adding extra weight to your opposing Pokemon and then hitting incredibly hard with that 2 energy grass attack, which his name is absolutely escaping me. But Leafeon VMAX, one of my favorite decks, and Galar Mine was essential in that. But a lot of other decks ran this as well, thinking Durant. Eternatus had run this for a time as well, and just being able to trap certain Pokemon in the active Galar Mine was amazing for that. Maybe the biggest legacy of Rebel Clash might be the energy, because it's got some amazing energy, including capture energy. You play it, and then you can put a basic Pokemon onto the bench. We've got horror energy, which when you get hit, your opponent takes 20 damage for each horror energy attached to your Pokemon. Speed Lightning energy, when you attach it, lets you draw 2 cards. And then Twin energy, which counts as 2 colorless energy, but it doesn't work on Pokemon V or GX. All right, that was a look back at Rebel Clash, and again, from a collector standpoint, I think the cards are abysmal, but from a gameplay standpoint, it kind of surprised me how many staple cards came from Rebel Clash that are still meta relevant to this day. So I will ease off on the slander a little bit on the Rebel Clash, because there were some really good cards in here. But what do you think? Based on what you've seen of Rebel Clash and the other Sword and Shield sets, where do you think Rebel Clash ranks? Let me know in the comments of this video. And thank you so much for watching. Again, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and before we go, some quick plugs. I am hosting a 24-hour Extra Life Marathon. We are fundraising in support of the Children's Miracle Network of Hospitals. The date and the URL to my Twitch channel are right here where it'll be hosted. If you'd like to make a donation, link is on the screen or in the description of this video. And if you donate at one of the 3 reward tiers, you can get some fun stuff, including prints of my spray paint art, as well as a signed Pokemon card from me, and a couple final plugs. Where are my buttons here? Hold on. There's my face. And of course, follow me on all the things: YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, at In Third Person. You can also find me on Twitch at In Third Person, where we play the Pokemon trading card game every Sunday at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. And last but not least, check out the website, inthirdperson.com, for more articles and videos on video games, board games, and other nerdy pursuits. All right, that's it from me. I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.